You're watching Bread and Roses, a weekly political social magazine that's broadcast in Iran via New Channel TV in both English and Persian. Hi everyone, I'm Maryam Namazie. I hope you're doing well and have been waiting for this week's program. This week I'm going to be speaking to you about the Turkish government's attacks on a civil society, two teenage girls in Morocco facing up to 3 years in prison for kissing and hugging, a 20-year-old woman in Indonesia flogged for standing too close to her boyfriend in the public space. I'll also be speaking about an insane fatwa on Shia versus Sunni air and water. Yes, very scientific for you right there. And The Slice of Life is a new film by Nima Nayestani on prison sisters. It's about the situation of prisoners in Afghanistan who are women. Instead of an interview, I'll be showing you my acceptance speech at the International Secularism of the Year award ceremony in Paris, France. Don't go away, stay with us. This week there are more reports of the Turkish government's all-out assault on civil society. Now we know that after the coup, Erdogan said that the coup was really God's gift to him, and clearly we know God is very useful in suppressing any form of dissent, and so we're seeing the main leaders of the Kurdish parties, opposition parties in Turkey, being arrested, Kurdish protesters being attacked, civil society being attacked. There's been more than 110,000 civil servants who have been expelled. It's outrageous. You're talking about academics, journalists, politicians, teachers, anyone that doesn't agree with Erdogan. Their passports have been confiscated. Thousands upon thousands of people have been arrested. More than 150 media outlets and publishers have been shut down. I mean, clearly it's, you know, it's such a sorry state too when you think about Turkey as a country in that region which was known for its secularism and for its relative freedoms. We've got a dictatorship going on now, and Erdogan is legally now allowed to surpass parliament and make many of the decisions. I think it's hugely important for the world to stand with the people of Turkey for secularism, against the Islamization of Turkey, and also for the Kurdish opposition and minority in that country. Now, following that, again, looking at how religious rules have such negative impacts on people's lives. I don't know if you've heard of the reports of two young Moroccan women, 16, 17 years old, who were photographed kissing and hugging and are now facing prosecution and up to 3 years in prison. I think the Moroccan authorities need to be reminded that love is not a crime, and the code in the law, I think it's code 489, which criminalizes same-sex relationships, needs to be abolished. And of course in Aceh province in Indonesia, we're seeing increasing Islamization in that area, and there are reports of a 20-year-old woman who was flogged in a public space by people who are in the pay of the state because she stood too closely to her boyfriend in the public. I mean, it is outrageous. When you look at these sort of laws, Sharia laws, religious laws, they criminalize love, they criminalize affection, and they make perfectly legal flogging, imprisonment, and discrimination against people who are merely exercising their free thought and their affection and love to one another. Now, of course, this follows through with what we're seeing in Britain as well. There was recently a Home Affairs Select Committee inquiry into Sharia courts. I gave evidence at this hearing. I'll talk to you more about that in the next week. But what's clear is that Sharia law, wherever it can, it at the very least discriminates against women, and it is linked to imposing and perpetrating and normalizing violence against women and girls. And that's why it's so hugely important that irrespective of one's beliefs, irrespective of one's religion or atheism, the law has to be kept separate from the state in order for people's rights to be protected, at least in the very minimum. On 2nd November, I was in Paris, France to win the International Secularist of the Year award that is given every year by the Comité Laïcité République, and it's the 11th year that these awards have been given. I won the international award for my work on secularism and women's rights in the Middle East and North Africa, as well as here in Europe. And the person who won the national prize is this wonderful politician of Algerian descent called Maryam, who also headed SOS Racism for several years. There was also a scientific award, and it went to the scientist Étienne-Émile Baliot, and it was for his work on various things, including creating the morning after pill. So it was just such a wonderful honor to be there. I do want to show you the video of my speech, which is out now. But before I do, I want to tell you that I'd like to dedicate this prize to my parents who've been so supportive of me, even though we have different beliefs. You know, they're believers and I'm obviously not. And I think it's so important to have parents like that who will support their children, who are free thinkers, who are atheists, and who refuse to accept religious norms and rules. And, you know, especially when you think about the fact that there's so many ex-Muslims, for example, who are being shunned and ostracized by their parents, how important it is to have that parental love and support. But also not to forget that there are lots of parents out there who are like mine. And, you know, parents that come to mind are those who continue to fight for their children even after they have been tragically killed and murdered. And what comes to mind are, of course, the wonderful mothers of Khavaran, the mothers of Lale Park, mothers of Rehane Jabbari, Satar Beheshti, and on and on and on. Mothers and fathers who have demanded justice and accountability for the children who've been murdered and disappeared, but also for those parents like my own who have stood with their children in their lives and in their struggles for rights and equality. Stay with me now to watch this speech.
Le Prix international de la laïcité, le Grand Prix international de la laïcité, est attribué à Maryam Namazie. Just a minute for photography. Come on. Voilà, bien. Ok, viens là, viens là.
I'm very, 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 very happy to be here. I'm honored to be amongst you wonderful, distinguished people, and honored to win this prize. I'm so happy to have my friends here. My son is here, my husband, and to have the support of my parents who are Muslims. We live in an age where totalitarianism is masked as divine righteousness. Theocrats are legitimized, dissent is vilified, and victims are blamed for their own murder. This is a time when solidarity is no longer an act of defending revolutionaries but fascists, where there is always support for Islamist projects like Sharia courts, the burqa, gender segregation, apostasy and blasphemy laws, whether de facto or de jure, but never, never for those who refuse to be silenced, erased, and disappeared. It's a time when progressive all too often means protecting regressive identity politics, which homogenizes entire communities and societies and deems theocrats as the sole legitimate arbiters and gatekeepers of community values. It's a politics of betrayal, devoid of class struggle and political ideals, which sees dissent through Islamist eyes and immediately labels it Islamophobic and blasphemous. We are called aggressive apostates, fundamentalist secularists, native informants, inflammatory. We are accused of violating the safe spaces of Islamists and even inciting hatred. Don't believe it. That is the Islamist narrative. In the world today, it is we who are being slaughtered, not the other way around. In their world, everybody dies. Yet we are accused of being offensive, as if cartoons and apostasy are worse than murder. Islamists discriminate, shun, flog, imprison, terrorize, abduct, and slaughter. But somehow it is always the victim whose provocation is to blame, whether it's Charlie Hebdo or Avijit Roy in Bangladesh. Laicite is not a theoretical discussion for ivory tower academics and champagne socialists. It is a matter of life and death for many of us. The likes of Asia Bibi facing execution in Pakistan for blasphemy, young ex-Muslims, Islam's non-believers in Britain facing a lifetime of shunning. The likes of Afsaneh Lasho, whose rights violations in a Sharia court in the Middle East have been upheld in French courts due to bilateral agreements. Human rights activist Narges Mohammadi, given a 16-year prison sentence in Iran for her work against executions. Jafar Azimzadeh, sentenced to 11 years in prison for labor organizing, as well as dual nationals being used as pawns, such as Nazanin Zaghari Radcliffe, as well as Siamak and Bahram Namazie in Iran. Blogger Raif Badawi in Saudi Arabia, sentenced to 10 years in prison. 10 years in prison and 1,000 lashes for writing about religion and politics, and on and on and on. Secularism is the solution, is a graffiti that Raif Badawi saw scrawled on a Saudi prison lavatory door. Yet we are told that secularism is a neo-colonialist demand by so-called anti-colonialists whose worldview always coincides with the ruling elite, including in the former colonies, and never with dissenters. Those anti-fascists who are only anti-some fascists some of the time. Those who are anti-racist, as long as we do not venture outside the pigeonholes that we are meant to live in and be buried in. If we dissent, though, they are at the forefront of insisting on racist cultural relativism and different rights for different people. The so-called progressives who condemn us to living lives within the confines of Islam whilst the sky has no limits for them. They cannot begin to understand that no one needs laïcité more than those who live, struggle under, and die under the boots of the religious right. And this includes the innumerable voting with their very feet and dying as we speak to seek refuge in secular societies, including the women, men, and children of Calais, who deserve the basic human right to asylum and protection, not vilification and criminalization. And it includes believers. The right to religion must have a corresponding right to be free from religion if it is going to have any meaning. The historical battle that we are faced with today is not a clash of civilizations, as the vile far right likes to say, in order to promote what is fundamentally white and Christian identity politics. Rather, it's a clash between theocrats on the one hand and secularists and universalists on the other. Across real and imagined borders and boundaries, and including many Muslims and migrants. Secularism is not French, it's not Western, it's not Eastern, it's universal. It must be unequivocally and unashamedly defended against this era's totalitarianism. Today, more than ever, we need laïcité, and we need it now. Our lives depend on it. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that speech. It was such a wonderful moment for me. I think I'd like to just reiterate my point on how secularism is such a matter of life and death for so many people, and that when we defend secularism, it is really defending and honoring our dissenters, people who are refusing and resisting and who are paying a great price for it. And so, a defense of secularism is a defense of them, and what an important defense that is. We need to do it more. We need to be unequivocal. We need to be, unequivocal in the defense of secularism, because it is very much so a matter of life and death for so many.
تو دریا آب شیعه داریم، آب سنی داریم. تو دریاها آبهایی که ولایت امیرالمؤمنین رو قبول کردن و شیرینن، اقیانوس هایی که ولایت امیرالمؤمنین رو قبول نکردن و تلخ و شورن. هواها هم همینطورن.
That has to be the most insane fatwa we have ever brought to you on this program. And we've brought you quite a few insane fatwas. So for this to be the most insanest of them all is saying something. Now, who knew that there were rivers and seas and the air that were Sunni or Shia? And, I guess it applies to everything. If you take a bite of an apple, it's salty or bitter, it's definitely Sunni. If it's nice and sweet and plump, it must be Shia. I there, you know, the reason, the science behind these fatwas is amazing. I wonder if the Comité Laïcité République would be willing to give a scientific award next year to this mullah. It's amazing. You heard it here. Now you know the truth. When you bite into something bitter or taste salty water. That's Sunni for sure. The slice of life this week is a new film by Nima Nayestani, and it's called Prison Sisters. It's about the situation of women prisoners in Afghanistan, and it follows the story of Sarah and one of her friends. You've got to see this. It's both inspiring as well as heartbreaking. I will end with a video trailer of his film. I suggest that you do go and see it when you get a chance to. He's also done another fantastic film on those who were slaughtered during the 80s by the Iranian regime, and it's titled Those Who Said No. So I urge you to go and see his films. Watch this fantastic clip. Before I show you that, I'd like to say goodbye to you, and I hope to see you again at the same time and same place next week. Have a wonderful week until then. Goodbye.
از زندان خارج شدم، تصمیم داشتن که مرا از بند ببرن. کاکایم بچی کاکایم میاد، با سانوالی که زنگ زدن با کاکایم بچی کاکایم میاره، همه تلبیس برد. سانوالی بعد از زبان وای خط گرفتن که نباید دختر کشته شود و دختر هر چیز شد با شما رو تسکیر میکنیم. بعد از اون من رفتم خانه ام تا فیلم آماده شد. بعد سویدن مرا دعوت کردن، آمدم سویدن تا درباره فیلم تشریح بدم. بعد از او امکاناتم من استفاده کردم، دیگه برنگشتم افغانستان چون جانم در خطر بود. نوی جان مرا گفتی بیا افغانستان، گوش کن بیا افغانستان که هیچ وقت برنمیگردم چون زیاد بدبختی رو در افغانستان دیدم. و حالی میگی که درس نرو، باید برم، باید تلاش کنم درس بخوانم که اینجا قانونش همیست که زن هر رقم خواست همون رقم زندگی میکنه. شب پا بیرون میباشه، روزا بیرون میباشه، قیدگیری نیست. از همین که خبر شدیم زنگ زدیم افغانستان، میخواستیم شماره نجیبه رو پیدا کنیم چون چند نفر خواستن براش کمک بکنن. اما حال خبر شنیدیم گفتن که یک سال پیش سنگسارش کردن. الو خاله شاگل، در نظر خدا زنگ زدیم. نظر خدا گفت که پاری نگو نجیبه که آزاد شده رفتن قربان گفت سنگسارش کردن. آیا این واقعیت داره؟
نبی سیا نبی از شمالیه اون نامش نبیه، اون سیاه اون رو ما نبی سیا میگیم.
یعنی اصلا شما نجیب نام هیچ وقت نداشتید و تحویل شما داده نشده؟
نه این بای نام بنت ما نداشتیم.
خیلی ممنون، دستتون درد.
من همین دوسیه که اعلا شده، همین دوسیه که با کدام تاریخ آمده گپای شما درست است، کدام تاریخ داخل زندان ما شده و چه وقت رها شده، کجا رفته، ایرا از همین طریق اسناد براتون معلومه.
فقط به خانه اونا که میرم در تلاش اونا همی نجیبه هم در می خانه بوده. فقط حرفشان ای بوده که نجیبه از خانه خود فرار نموده. به این لحاظ میرن و هم امون روز بالا قادره میکشن و هم نجیبه نامه.
Hi, I'm Maryam Namazie.
And I'm Fari Bospuya.
We're hosting a program called Bread and Roses. It's a weekly program that's broadcast in Persian and English in the Middle East and North Africa, primarily Iran as well. And it's also shown on YouTube internationally.
And we've been doing this since last May. We're coming up to our year's anniversary, and we've had quite a lot of fun making these videos.
We discuss taboo-breaking, free-thinking ideas. The Islamic regime of Iran has called us immoral and corrupt.
And that's why you need to support us. We are the alternative voice in Middle East and North Africa.
Of corruption and immorality. So do support us. Here's a short video from Patreon that explains how you can help us with even just $1 a week. That's nothing. Support us.
Patreon lets fans become patrons of their favorite artists and content creators. It's different than Kickstarter because it's not about one big project that requires lots of funding. It's more for bloggers or YouTubers or webcomics, anyone who creates on a regular basis. Here's how it works. When you become a patron, you're agreeing to give an artist a tip of an amount you set every time they release a piece of content, whether it's a new song, a video, or a recipe. You can set a monthly maximum to make sure that you're always within your budget. Choose an amount, enter your payment information, and you're done. Becoming a patron allows you to view and post in the artist's stream, and in exchange for your support, artists offer additional patron packages, which might include monthly Google Hangouts, music production tutorials, pre-sale concert tickets, or anything they can offer as a way to say thanks. Patreon, empowering a new generation of content creators.